everyone, welcome back to Pommy and Oz. I hope we're all doing really well. If you are new around here, please drop a like, please drop a subscribe. It means the world to me. We've just hit over 900, which is absolutely phenomenal. I can't thank you guys and girls enough for all the love and support you've shown me. It's absolutely phenomenal and it is incredibly touching. So if you are new, please drop a like, drop a sub. We're nearly at 1,000. It'll make my year if we can tap that. So we're going to be on to the Brisbane preview, so let's, without any further ado, get into it. Now, we are going to be a bit limited on graphics at the moment. My actual laptop is deep in IT at the moment. I'm having some stuff sorted out for work, etc. So I don't have my usual high-powered, funky laptop. We're having to do this on the fly. So we had a really horrific week, didn't we, last week to Port Adelaide. There was a lot of hope. There was a lot of turning the corner, and we've had a lot of corners, I think, as a Carlton fan in my 10 years of being here, and I'm sure a lot of you guys and girls will have had a lot more. And it seems like we know where the corner is, we just can't quite get to it at the moment, and when we do find the corner, it's the wrong bloody street. And we look at last week, and I think there's something interesting I want to take out pre-game, and that was Teague's words. Now, I know a lot of these have been heavily documented this week, and there's a lot of people that are genuinely annoyed with it, and I think quite rightly so. I thought, for me, the most talented one, though, the telling sign he said, was when he went on to say, if we play with the intent and see where we're at. And I knew we'd lost when he said that, and I'll tell you for why, and it is very, very perfect as a segue to go in to the Brisbane Lions. And for me, the biggest part of intent on the football field and the biggest measurement is your tackle pressure. And we ranked dead last for that. We ranked dead last in tackles per game. And that, for me, is a concern. When you combine that with the least pressured mistake side against, the least clangers. So these are huge stats. When you look at intent, it shows that our intent's not there. And you've got to remember, we've sexed them stats up with games against Fremantle and Gold Coast, who aren't world beaters. Fremantle probably the better of them two sides. But you've got to remember, you talk about Carlton's outs, and there's debate on some of the players people mention. I've seen Marchbank mentioned, I've seen Kerno mentioned. These guys haven't played full games for over 2 years. And Frio's outs were horrific. They are literally walk-up starts for their side, even if they're not 100% fit. And it has been proved that the players that have come back have instantly come back in that without any VFL or any waffle experience. And that is a concern to me, and that is a concern when our coach feels like that's something that he has to specify. Now, in the UK at the moment, and in Europe, you might have heard about the European Super League. And I think this is a huge one for me to just discuss pre-game to Brisbane, of how relevant that is to AFL. And you saw the power of the fans there, the power of the fans of expectation. And we're talking that in society, your Liverpools, your Arsenals, your Manchester clubs, they are far greater, their impact on a local community, than Carlton Football Club. Not saying they're better clubs, because we're ancient and historic too. Huge part of the community. But they recognise the fans. And there was a couple of things that Teague did this week, that I think he doesn't recognise the fans. When he's saying after the Port Adelaide game that there's some positives, and he mentions the inside 50 stat, that's not respecting the fan base, that's mocking the fan base. Because David Teague knows that statistically that game was horrendous. Particularly when you add Ken Hinckley has said that they queued in the rack at half-time. They knew the game was won at half-time when there was only 3 goals in it. That says a lot about our intent, and also why them inside 50s were sexed up. And also the intent Teague talks about. This should be a prerequisite. You've got to remember, and I've noticed this, that the wording of our football club pre-season was we will make the 8, we aim to make the 8, we feel the rebuild is over. And we're back now to cans, if, maybes, wills. And that is a worry for me, because it's almost like there's a realisation subconsciously by the powers that be that we're not there yet. And as evidenced by this season, we aren't there. We're a long way away. And Brisbane, let's talk about them. Statistically, they're a side that this side should beat. They are a dream for Carlton to play because they haven't been playing well themselves. And you actually look at Brisbane's numbers. Number 1, clangers. Top 3 for unpressured mistakes. Top 5 for pressured mistakes. These are a side that literally have proven this season so far that under the cosh, you can break them. And they're a side that gives up a lot of possession. Their natural game style is very quick and it's not possession based. That plays into Carlton's strengths dramatically. And on paper, just looking at the raw data, we match up very well against them and we shouldn't fear them because if you do the basics right at the moment, Brisbane are kind of in the similar situation to Carlton, and it's weird because we talk about Carlton and Brisbane a lot in our rebuild of what is possible. And there isn't a really feeling because what concerns me is if you take the last 2 games, Brisbane are favourites all of a sudden, even though their record this year is the same and as ours, and across the board the stats are saying Brisbane have suddenly reached a plateau. And you look at the last 2 games, they won last week, and obviously the game before that, as we know, Brisbane, they suffered they got the win. They got the win against Essendon, and it was quite a comfortable win. But they lost against the Doggies, and you look at that, and there is a key little thing for Carlton. We have to bring the intensity. And I want Teague and the players to listen to the fan base and block out the support you've got. Listen to the majority. The majority at the moment are disappointed. Now, you can take 2 things away from that as a player and as a clubman, as someone employed by the club. You could say it that the Carlton fans are impatient. You could say it that the Carlton fans are being erratic. They're blowing it out. Or you could take it that wins against Gold Coast and Fremantle are inconsequential. Collingwood have been whipped by everyone. Port Adelaide were away at home and the performance was so bad that their coach has said they basically knew it was won at half time. And see it as we expect better, not because we're blind faith, because I can only speak for myself here, but I think I'm generalising well, that everyone in the club believes they're better than this. And they are. Statistically they are. We know they're there. My question is, if Teague is saying intent is a measurement, he obviously knows that the intent there isn't natural. And that is a reason, because this game here, after a barbaric performance last week, the intent should be there. And if the intent is there to the level that we're capable of, we win this. Because the numbers are great for Carlton. And it's worrying because we're top 5 hit-outs. Top 5 hit-outs to advantage. Top 3 clearances. These are all sexy stats. But the problem is the clearances to advantage are poor. We're last in D50 transition. And these are all basics of football. And it's the ability to control the game against Brisbane is a key one. They give up a lot of possession generally, more than the average bear. They're a very counterpunch, very impactful per possession team. So Carlton should really be looking at their key use and really looking to control the footy. And when I say control the footy, not in this lackadaisical approach that has seemed to have come out, particularly in our defeats this year, where it's devoid of ideas and it's slow. If I was giving a message to David Teague, it would be listen to the fans. And I hope it does upset you. Because if it upsets you and it makes the coffee not taste so good, it makes the breakfast not taste so good, it makes you lay awake at night, it's a good thing because you care. And it's like the European Super League. Sometimes it's good to admit you care and you're wrong about something. Because sometimes saying smart words is a very cheap measurement when it's very important that you follow through on your actions. And Carlton have been panned in the press, and for the first time in a long time, I'm glad they've been panned in the press, because maybe they'll learn from it. Marvel Stadium, 4:35 on the 24th of April, 22 blokes plus 1 emergency go into battle with 80,000 paid up members. When you take that across the world of people that's not paid up, it's probably 120, 150, could be more. We're there with you. Whether we hate you during the week, we love you. And I think sport is a bigger picture, and the European Champions League has told us about that. We're a family. It's a coming together. And it might be good, David and the boys, to talk a smart little game here and there. Maybe humour us with fake stats that you think are important that you know are not. But at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. What sometimes looks good tastes like crap. And it's time to own it. And the only way, if David Teague hasn't got the cojones to face the media and say it was barbaric, if the board don't, if the players don't, it's fair enough. Being brave and standing up and saying you crap sometimes is tough. It's one part of learning though. You don't have to do it publicly, but you've got to admit it's not good enough. And Brisbane are a very good side, but the blueprint to beat this side is written all in their numbers. It's intensity, it's pressure, it's tackles. And I want to see that, and I want to see that start on the selection table. Don't want to see any safe selections. I don't want to see the ones that everyone knows. I want to see Tom Williamson come out for Mr. Liam Stocker. I want to see Levi Casbolt, who played less than 10% in the ruck, come out. Because it's obvious that Levi and Mitch McGovern don't work. Choose who you want to come out. But one of them comes out and you replace them with a wonderful, wonderful small pressure forward. You've got Honey and Owies at the moment killing tackles in all their VFL games this year. Starts in the forward pressure. I want to see some statements on the selection table. Eddie Betts, give him a rest. Bring in Honey. Mark Murphy, give him a rest. Bring in Owies. Bring in Sam Ramsey. Bring something new. Because you want to change something, we have to start adapting. And it's okay saying, what about experience? You look at Carlton's football side and you look at them as a list. This is one of the more experienced sides out there. Even with them names out, the youth of our side has played that many games that there is experience in abundance. There is experience in abundance. There is 7 players who played last week on 100 to 149 games. There is a staggering 5, 50 to 99. That is 12 players that could be in that side that have a core amount of experience of a minimum of 2 seasons. One of the guys less than 50 is none other than Samuel Walsh, and he's an absolute jet and shows a bit more leadership. And that is what I'm expecting this week. Play the younger kids, mix it with the mature experience we've got. You've got to remember that our 24-year-old players playing games that 25, 26 years are playing. 21-year-olds with 23 years experience actually in reality. We have got all the measurements, all the key pressure indicators, meters gained, entries inside 50. They're all in the area that we should beat this side. The one thing that lacks is a little bit of heart and a little bit of courage. I don't want to hear this week it was a little bit too hard from the commentators. I want you to show it, because I promise you, if you go down fighting, you'll always have the support. And I think anyone is very culturally naive to suggest that anyone who has been upset by that defeat is a bad person. And that comes from the club and its messaging. So I'm overruling Carlton Football Club this week. Cheer hard. Complain hard. Do it with intent. Whatever you do as a fan, do it with intent. Because hopefully it might rub off on the 22 blokes that will represent us. Because they represent us. And I've seen more intent in the forums this week than I have from Carlton all year. These aren't a pushover Brisbane Lions. They're a very well-drilled side. Jared Lyons is playing very good football. Joe Danaher's in form. And Lockie Neal is in a little bit of strife, isn't he? But he knows he's good. I want to see Ed Kerno take Lockie Neal out of the game. It's been proven there's a blueprint to beat him. Wheater and Jones can cope with their forward line. And it is literally showing what it takes. It's stopping Daniel Rich. It's stopping them players. It's putting a body on Harris Andrews. Mackay going head on head with him. It's, a little bit of chutzpah with Dane Zorko. And it is manning up to them. Because this is the time. This is the time. There is no better time than beat Brisbane at the moment. Because they're hot and cold. And it's intense. But I don't want to hear about it. I want to see it. You don't need to say that. I know as a fan, intent isn't a prerequisite of this football club. And the reason why is quite simple. We have strayed away from who we are as a culture. We are that Tom Elliott Carlton at win at all costs. But there's a difference. You don't have to cheat to win at all costs. You can win at all costs with good work, hard work and sacrifice. That was a mistake. And I feel like we have strayed from that too far. It's time to bring who we are back. And that is a side that is a good, honest football club. Win or lose, you can never question our intent. And that is what we need to bring back. Stick the rebuild up your arse. Stick player game time. Pick the best 22 for the positions available. And go out there and show what this football club is all about. Because Brisbane are there for the taking. And they are an equally proud and heritage club like we are. They come from the Fitzroy Lions. Proud club. And they represent that brand incredibly well. Incredibly well. And they are weak and vulnerable as well. They bleed like you or I. So go out there. Remember, that monogram means something that theirs doesn't. Ours is the AFL. None of this namby-pamby stuff. Don't want to hear anything. I want to hear results and truths. And I'm telling you now, you play your way with the intent that you were born to do, that every professional footballer does, shouldn't fear this game. Do I think they do it? Honestly, I don't. Honestly, I don't. And I think that the club has got a long way to go with the basics, because this is real life. It's hard. It's tough. And I don't know if they're in it for the fight. But this is the time you prove everyone wrong. And you start. And it doesn't... And I'm telling you now, don't jump off the bandwagon of expecting more if they do win. Because then it has to be backed up by more than one game. You've got this, you've got Bombers and you've got the Doggies. You've got a great test there. You've got rivals and you've got a team playing at the top of their game. This is a great build-up, and it's the first stepping stone to beat the Doggies. Because the Doggies are the Lions at the moment on steroids with a heavy possession game. That's the preview then, ladies and gentlemen. What are your thoughts? My gut tells me that Carlton go down by 3 goals. I hope I'm wrong. I'll be cheering hard though as always, and I hope you are. Let's hope we see something. Pom out.